thought you knew. Desert's your fight, I'll go with you. You're facing down a dark hole. I'll grab my light and go with you. I'll go with you. I'll go with you. I'll go with you. Surrounded and up against the wall, I'll shred them all and go with you. When choices end, you must defend. I'll grab my bat and go with you. I'll go with you. I'll go with you. I'll go with you. Stay with me. No, you don't need to run. Stay with me, my blood. Stay with me. No, you don't need to run. Stay with me, my blood. There comes a day, people posted up at the end of your driveway. They're calling for your head and they're calling for your name. I'll bow 'em down on a mime coming through. Do they know I was grown with you? They hear the smoke, no, I'll go with you. Just keep it outside, yeah. And stay with me. No, you don't need to run. Stay with me, my blood. You don't need to run. Stay with me. No, you don't need to run. Stay with me, my blood. You don't need to run. Stay with me. No, you don't need to run. Stay with me, my blood. You don't need to run. Yourself in a lion's den, I'll jump right in and pull my pin. If you find yourself in a lion's den, I'll jump right in and pull my pin. If you find yourself in a lion's den, I'll jump right in and pull my pin and go with you. No, you don't need to run. Stay with me, my blood. I'll go with you. Yeah. You don't need to run. Stay with me, my blood. You don't need to run. Stay with me. No, you don't need to run. Stay with me, my blood. Hello and welcome to Raise a Glass, the podcast where we talk about these stories and storytellers that shape us. I am Hunter Danson.
And I am very tired. Sorry, Eric Lintela.
Me too. I almost waited for you to say my name. And then I'm sure there.
There's so tears coming from my eyes. Okay.
But I am still very excited for this podcast, as listeners might have guessed, because I have done not one but two covers of 21 Pilots songs.
Two.
So stay tuned at the end for Trees.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am so excited. I absolutely love 21 Pilots, as I'm sure you will find out. But before you do, I got to know what's in your glass, Eric.
I'm trying the classic today. Classic that would not have been allowed in my house growing up at this time of night. In fact, would not be allowed outside of breakfast time because orange juice
Oh,
without pulp
yeah.
is a breakfast drink, not a lunch or a dinner drink.
It's like a drink anachronism. Pulp or no pulp?
No pulp. We ain't about that pulp life. We make pulp fiction here. Hunter, what is in your glass?
Well, I don't have too many creative drinks in my house at the moment, but I do have some ginger turmeric herbal tea. And I thought it was appropriate because Tyler Joseph of 21 Pilots is a little bit spicy in some of his songs, but he's also kind of good for you, like turmeric. So, yeah. Still trying to go with the theme, spicy. You know.
Oh, I gave up on that at the first episode. No, that's too much work. Too much work. There are 21 unique flavors within this orange juice that if your taste bud is strong enough.
Well, what are you tipping out the orange juice for, and what are you raising it for this week?
Oh, Hunter, I have not told you this yet. It's my raising a glass and pouring one out are fully related this week.
Okay.
I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll explain why they're related. I'm pouring one out for quiche and carrot sticks, cold quiche and carrot sticks. And I'm raising a glass to police officers.
Okay.
Yes. Yesterday, I was reaching down at a stoplight for my carrots and quiche. I actually can't remember which one I was reaching for.
Mm-hmm.
And my car and the light had turned green. And so my car was going forward. And the car in front of me was not. And so I got into a car accident.
Oh, no.
Less than 10 miles per hour. Everybody is okay. It was just me in the car, for which I'm grateful. Definitely still feeling a little bit like rattled, even though like it wasn't the biggest extent of the two largest extents of the damage to the vehicles were one, the plastic thing that goes around my fog light for one of them popped out. So I grabbed it and I pushed it back in and it's all fine. And the car in front of me has a blue outline of my license plate because the paint came off. And that was it. But the person in front of me, instead of just exchanging information and going on about our day, because we were both fine and there really wasn't any damage, like exchanging insurance and stuff like that. She called 911.
Oh, okay.
To get the police involved. And so I was like, well, in that case, I'll call them as well. Maybe that'll make them come faster. And I had a wonderful interaction with Police Officer Williams, I think is his last name. Very nice man. Very helpful. He looked at the vehicles and what was happening, the extent of the damage, and he said, You guys just gonna exchange information? I said, no. The woman in front of me does not want to speak to me and feels the necessity of having the police involved. So there's now a police report. So,
Oh, wow.
which my wife was like, just think about it as an official way of saying no damage was done, or very little damage was done. So,
Yeah.
but that is why I'm pouring on out for carrots. Actually, I ate the carrots in the quiche while I was waiting for, while listening to 21 Pilots.
Nice.
Just standing next to my car, leaning on it, eating cold quiche, which is not the best form of quiche. But I'm definitely still a little shaken from that, and I was on the way to a work thing, and so I still went to the work thing afterwards. So it's just it's a long day yesterday. Not as long of a day today, but a long one for tomorrow and Thursday. So it's a week.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah. Yes, which is why one of the reasons why you didn't hear any bass in either of the the amazing covers Hunter did. So
yes, well,
sorry for
there's
that.
still time if you want to.
Maybe. Don't hold your breath. But Hunter, what are you raising a glass and pouring one out for this week?
Well, I'm raising a glass to the stranger who helped me in a Walmart parking lot. He helped jump my car. And because the battery died, we had our whole family out running multiple errands.
Oh no.
Yeah. And we did have a battery pack in the car, but it didn't work. Tried it multiple times, double checked, triple checked. I guess they lose charge over time, and I hadn't charged it in a while, even though I'd charged it all the way when I got it, but it didn't count for anything. So, but then I was there for a little while. I was just trying to like trickle charge it because the battery pack still had juice left, but it just wasn't enough to like start it. So I was like, maybe I can just charge it slowly, whatever. And then a guy pulled in, and he had like mechanic clothes on. So like, and he's like, what's going on there? He knew like exactly what he was doing. And he's like, hold on a minute. I just got to get something at Walmart. And then I come back out. We can jump your car. And he had jumper cables. And we did it first try. And he was really nice. I don't even know his name. Nice. He just kind of took off. I was like, wow, that was a very nice man. Helped me out.
Helped your whole family out.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife was with the kids in Dunkin' Donuts in Walmart. But
good old Dunkin' Donuts in Walmart.
Yeah, so I'm raising a glass to a person of Walmart, which you don't hear about very often. But I'm pouring one out for social anxiety. I definitely have symptoms. I remember things that I have done over like decades ago that I still think about with anxiety.
Remember things when you were 5?
Like over a decade.
Okay, it's like you're not old enough to be thinking decade. Maybe.
I'm sure if I think about it, I can think of something. But
no.
You know, like the time I bombed a speech in econ class in high school. It was like a presidential speech. It's a really like kind of a dumb assignment, but totally bombed a speech. But I just can't get off my mind the fact that I said Carlos Beltran instead of Robert Beltran on the Star Trek podcast. I put it in the show notes that I misspoke. Robert Beltran plays Chakotay in Star Trek Voyager. And I said Carlos Beltran on the podcast, and I'm just like, oh, I'm sure there's lots of other things that I wish I had said right or whatever. But I'm probably the only one who really cares about it. With most of these things that I think about, like I'm the only one who cares or even remembers them. So
I definitely have a few of those things in my life.
yeah. But
I definitely find myself needing to apologize for a lot of things. People are like, yeah, but that wasn't even a problem. I was like, but it was. It was such a big problem. I'm so sorry I said that.
yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah. But listening to 21 Pilots this week has been very cathartic for my social anxiety, and especially the song The Hype on the album Trench. But we will get there because, yes, we are talking about 21 Pilots.
Not 21 Guns, in case you were wondering. Different band.
Yeah.
Great song, different band.
Yeah. And I have so much that I want to say about 21 Pilots that I feel like if I just start talking, I'm going to get totally lost. So I hope I could rely on you to sort of keep us on some sort of track as we go through this. I asked that you listen to Vessel
Mm-hmm.
and Trench, 2 albums,
Mm-hmm.
and the song Stressed Out from Blurryface. And I chose those albums because Blurryface is probably 21 Pilots' like most popular album. And it's incredibly well known. And I feel like a lot of the there's a lot of things that have already been said about Blurryface. And I picked Trench because I feel like it doesn't get talked about that much, and I really love it a lot. And Vessel is just my favorite one, my favorite album. And I love all of the other 21 Pilots too, just No Fun Intended and Self-Titled, and of course the incredibly moving TB Saga, which is a deep cut that you can look for. But Vessel is my favorite one if I had to pick just one. But I want to hear from you, Eric. Have you listened to 21 Pilots before? Are you familiar with them at all before this week?
Well, Hunter, before I answer that, I just want to say it's very exciting to see you so passionate about something, especially something that I knew you liked 21 Pilots, but I did not know that you were like deeply passionate
Oh,
about
I am,
them.
yeah.
Well, that's very clear already. So very interested to dive into that and how these things have shaped your life. These albums in particular. Yes. The answer is yes. I don't listen to tons of music. Well, I do listen to a lot of music, but not. I don't. This isn't on the normal playlist that I listen to, but many of these songs were familiar to me even before spending a lot of time listening to Vessel and Trench. You know, I don't know if anybody hasn't heard Stressed Out.
Yeah.
Shut up, we need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. I also am a person who finds it very challenging to remember a song based off the title. So as you're talking about different songs today, I will need you to give me a cue as to how the song goes.
Yeah. I'll do my best.
So, yeah, but I had never had any emotional attachment to 21 Pilots. I wouldn't skip 21 Pilots if it came on the radio, on my playlist, but I probably wouldn't love it either. Like hit the heart button, on Spotify. That's me. That's where I came from.
All right. How about this time around?
As I eat a vanilla wafer. Sorry. Well, Hunter, I've actually been interested. Of these two albums, which one do you think I connected with the most?
Maybe Vessel.
Vessel is much chiller, I found, as an album. Personally,
That's
as I listened to it. Do you disagree with that?
Well, I think there's a lot of angst in Vessel. I feel like there is in Trench too, but I don't know. Trench is like also musically heavy.
I tried listening to Trench as I was driving away from the car accident and got incredibly stressed out. Whereas I think if I was listening to Vessel, I wouldn't have been as stressed out. So for whatever reason, the way it hit me, Vessel calmed me down a little bit more. And then I turned on some Andrew Peterson because I really needed to calm down. And that was good.
Right.
But I quite enjoyed listening to both of them. I have listened to more 21 Pilots in the last week than I have the rest of my life combined. And I did not put the albums on shuffle. I listened to it all the way through.
Yeah.
I won't say that I did not deeply analyze all of the words and how they speak to each other. And I did see that there was an album where the band talks about each particular song. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think they did that for Vessel.
Yes.
On Spotify or something.
Yep. Well, Hunter, please take it away. Why are we talking about 21 Pilots? Clearly you love them and you're passionate about them. When were you introduced to them? Like, what is it about? I see Vessel came out after you were out of high school, when you were in college. Like, how long have you been following 21 Pilots? What is 21 Pilots to you?
Well, I was introduced to 21 Pilots by TJ, my man TJ, and we did like a music swap. I gave him some Need to Breathe files, and he gave me some 21 Pilots. He gave me Vessel and Blurryface, and I think that was like my sophomore, junior year of college, maybe. And my first reaction to Vessel, I think it took me a little bit to get into it because I don't really listen to rap. And even though I appreciate it as music more than I used to, but it's just not really, it's never been my style or what I look for. And so Vessel came out in 2013. And it has some sort of, like, the first song, Ode to Sleep, is just totally up and down. Starts out, sounds kind of like Eminem, the way that he raps. And you might hear me rap later on, or fake rap, because I just really can't.
You call fake rap frapping over here?
Up. And I feel my soul start leaving, like an old man's hair receding. And so when I first heard it, I sort of like tightened up because I wasn't sure what to think about it. And then I think by the time it got to Semi-Automatic, Semi-Automatic, my prayer is schizophrenic, but I'll live on, yeah, I'll live on, yeah, I'll live on. I was like totally into it because of the lyrics. The music is good. He uses a lot of piano and synth, and of course Josh Dunn on the drums. But for me, with 21 Pilots, it's really all about the lyrics, because Tyler Joseph struggles with his faith, with depression, with imposter syndrome, with suicidal thoughts. And he is able in his lyrics. I was trying to think about like what his lyrics do, and I think he's able to go so deep into an issue because he doesn't really attack it directly. Um, at least not very often. Like in the song "Neon Gravestones" is a little more direct than he usually is, but it's poetry, and poetry can really kind of um, slip through the cracks of uh, all the facts and emotions around an issue and go deeper, um,
Mm-hmm.
to uh, to your heart, your soul, whatever it is. Um,
I agree.
yeah. So that's where it started, and I kept going with Blurryface, and I think by the time I just cut through those, I was like pretty much a fan. Um, and I just kept, every time a new album out, I'd get it and listen to it. And I probably will keep doing that, um, as long as he makes them. They make them.
Yeah, how many people are in 21 Pilots?
Well, technically, it's two. I mean, the two big names. There's Tyler Joseph, who does like all the lyrics, most of the music and stuff, and then Josh Dunn, who plays the drums. But Tyler and Josh are really good friends. Um, they've been friends for a really long time, and I think Josh is, even if he's not directly contributing to the music and melodies and that kind of thing, he does contribute a lot to the music in the process. And he is a really incredible drummer. Um, my wife and I actually saw them live in Boise, in the Taco Bell arena, um, which they were very happy about. They said they loved Taco Bell when they came out on stage. But yeah, Tyler Joseph and Josh Dunn.
Okay.
Uh,
Now, is it the two of them on the cover of Vessel?
no, no. So this is one of the things that is a major theme in Tyler's music is growing old.
Okay.
Because he has, if you listen to the lyrics, he mentions like um, self harm, like my wrist and my mind have the bleeding lines that remind me of all the times I've committed crimes that I've perfectly form fitted to what I've done and what I'm doing. And later on, you'll see this develop in to Neon Gravestones, where at the end he says, "Find your grandparents or someone of age, pay your respects to the path that they paved, to life they were dedicated. Now that should be celebrated." So it's this idea of like, respecting your elders because they have run a race and they were dedicated to life. And um, Tyler's music really, he himself, I think, struggled with suicidal thoughts, and the sort of community that came around the music talked about it a lot too. Uh, that's what Neon Gravestones kind of came out of.
In Neon Gravestones, it's on Trench.
On Trench, yeah.
Hunter, the song that connected most with me, maybe because I knew it before. I don't actually. I think I did. Maybe I didn't. Also talks about getting old, and it's referenced in my name, House of Gold.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a song written by a mother to a son.
It's a son to a mother.
Mm-hmm.
She asked me, son, when I grow old,
Okay.
will you buy me a house of gold?
So I really enjoyed the feel of the song. I enjoy the sound of it, and just I think I like I've said before on this. I'm more of a power ballad type guy in general. I don't know if this is quite a power ballad, but it is definitely more ballad-esque than some of the other ones.
It's more of a pop song. Sounds like more of a
Okay.
pop song.
Dang it. I like pop music. I refuse to believe it. Sorry, that was an internal monologue. Dialogue, actually. Do you know more about the song or about kind of what is trying to be spoken? Is there... You brought up that 21 Pilots has that there's a depth to the songwriting.
Yeah. So the main chorus is, and he plays it with the ukulele, actually. And it's, she asked me, son, when I grow old, will you buy me a house of gold? And if your father turns to stone, will you take care of me? So it's,
Mm-hmm.
I interpret it as like the mother asking the son, like, will you take care of me when I get older? Will you still need me and feed me when I'm 64? And the answer is, I will make you queen of everything you see. I will put you on the map. I'll cure you of disease. And that's, I don't know, to me, that's really the meat of the song, is Tyler's love for his mom and, you know, wanting to give her everything, and take care of her. But I guess the kind of weird part of this song, which I guess we could call depth, is and since we know that dreams are dead and life turns plans up on their head, I will plan to be a bum, so I just might beget someone. Which this says become someone, but I'm pretty sure it's beget someone. Has it been become this whole time?
Have you ever listened to Screamo lyrics with like what is actually said? And by that I mean in parentheses, like in quotation marks.
I almost refuse to believe that it's become.
Those definitely different meanings. And now we'll play a short intermission break while Hunter goes on a fact-finding mission to discover whether or not 21 Pilots' song House of Gold is about becoming or begetting.
Everything is saying become.
This is really bad music. I don't know what I was trying to go for. My mind was going to go for elevator music, but it's kind of hard to like whistle elevator music because it's got its own specific ambiance.
Wow. Okay. I guess it is become someone. It really does sound like beget someone to me, though, because he kind of yells the line, and then the interpretation that I have, it sort of works. But because like Tyler, basically, I'm pretty sure he dropped out of college to finish this album. So to like
tour his album, and there's some great like old footage that you can find of them on the road. Like it's basically this them with a trailer. It's like Tyler and Josh. They got a trailer, and there's like footage of them like changing a flat and stuff. And they basically just toured it. And Tyler's mom, I guess, was like incredibly supportive of him and would like invite people to come to his shows and stuff, which is just like just wonderful. My mom has always been incredibly supportive of me as well, and it's a really really special. And this is Tyler's song that honors her. And I think this verse, since we know that dreams are dead and life turns plans up on their head, I'll plan to be a bum, so I just might become someone, is sort of like he didn't know if he was going to be successful or not. It's like, yeah, you can have success in music, but you know, it's not definitely not guaranteed. And he he said that he just might become someone, and he did, but he could have been a bum too.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah,
It's very clear to me that you have spent a lot of time with these albums, that they are kind of part of your psyche. Is that the right way? Does that make sense? No.
yeah.
And I know that if we went through each song, we'd be able to speak to piece after piece in it. I'm wondering, before we do that, or before we kind of dive maybe super, maybe even deeper, for our listeners who do not know 21 Pilots, if you were going to introduce them to Vessel through 2 or 3 songs, which songs would you introduce them to?
I mean, I feel like it's Ode to Sleep, because it is a really great representation of the sort of like genre blending that 21 Pilots does. This like rap to pop, and yet the lyrics are much deeper and about much more serious and sad topics than the average pop song. So Ode to Sleep.
Okay.
Migraine. It's hard to choose between Migraine, Car Radio, Semi-Automatic, and Screen.
Car Radio is hilarious.
Oh yeah, I love Car Radio.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's how a lot of him being sad because he's surrounded by silence because somebody stole my car radio and now I just sit in silence.
Yeah.
Great ending to the song too.
Yeah.
That's how it just ends too.
Mm-hmm. So I like Migraine because like just some incredible lyrics. Like I think it's some of his best to date, like lyrics. I begin to assemble what weapons I can find, because sometimes to stay alive, you've got to kill your mind. The refrain is, am I the only one I know, waging my wars behind my face and above my throat? Shadows will scream that I'm alone, but I know we've made it this far, kid. Boop. And it just has a really great vibe.
Yeah, and the synth or the way that the voices are, it's a very unique sound. I can't I can hear it in my head, but I can't even pretend. I begin to communicate.
Like just freeze frame. Please let me paint a mental picture portrait. Something you won't forget. It's all about my forehead and how it's a door that holds back contents that makes Pandora's box contents look non-violent. Behind my eyelids are islands of violence. My mind shipwrecked. This is the only land my mind could find. I did not know it was such a violent island full of tidal waves, suicidal crazed lions. They're trying to eat me, blood running down their chin. I know that I can fight or I can let the lion win. I begin to assemble what weapons I can find, because sometimes to stay alive, you've got to kill your mind.
Okay. And then the third one. How would you end off the experience?
Trees.
Trees.
21 Pilots ends every concert with trees.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Because it's trees. It's it's a very simple song. There's like 3 chords. But to me, trees is really, I sing trees like a worship song when I sing along to trees, because it is just a cry of loneliness, of wanting to reach out. Um, and in my faith journey, I've gone through periods of time where I really feel like I can't feel God, like, and especially in college. I went through a period of time where I just like couldn't. I would see people in doing worship and singing songs and stuff, and it would seem like they were really getting something from it, really feeling God, and I just wasn't. Um, but trees is, it's asking that question of like, why won't you speak where I happen to be, silent in the trees? And yet there's an acknowledgement of like knowing that even if I can't feel God, he's still there. I can feel your breath. I can feel my death. I want to know you. I want to see. I want to say hello. And the whole song is building. They actually, in the concerts, they float Tyler and Josh out on this crowd on these like platforms that hold drums. And so
Okay.
Josh is like just drumming out in the crowd. And it's like it's like a 3 or 4 chord song, but they build it so well. And there's a great interlude, and it comes back in and repeats. And it's just this cry of wanting to say hello. And in the recording, Tyler is like literally screaming like hello, like full on screamo, which, you know, I've never really listened to screamo, and I still don't. But like if there's one place where it is appropriate, um, it really, it's there. Just that kind of desperate cry of wanting to connect.
Wow. I definitely felt that as I was listening through the songs. There was a conversation about faith, or a conversation with faith. Maybe that was happening throughout. And a conversation with pain,
Mm-hmm.
which I know you've already said. Just reflecting on that as a.
Yeah, a migraine.
What else from Vessel do you want to make sure we talk about?
Oh, I do. I want to talk about Screen.
Okay.
Again, like Screen, I think is in the same vein of trees. Like the first verse is, I do not know why I would go in front of you and hide my soul, because you're the only one who knows it. I will hide behind my pride. Don't know why I think I can lie, because there's a screen on my chest. I'm standing in front of you. I'm trying to be so cool. Everything together, trying to be so cool. And if I am remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure Tyler was like in youth group, like part of youth groups and stuff. And on their albums, I think I don't know if they did it in the most recent one, although I think they did. They have like a dedication to Jesus Christ on the album, just as like on the back, like where they do the thank you things. And this is like, we've talked about quote unquote Christian music before. And I think the interesting thing about 21 Pilots is they're like so unexpectedly, like you listen to them and they don't sound like anything else really, because they bend so many genres. They blend so many genres. But and this is just my interpretation, because I am Christian and that's my worldview. And there are a lot of other interpretations, but I feel like in their lyrics, it's really hard to avoid that sort of struggling with faith. And it's a sort of thing that you don't really get in mainstream Christian music. Like a lot of worship songs are made to be sung in the church. They might sort of vaguely refer to struggles or something, like a mountain to climb or waters to cross, but it doesn't usually go that much deeper. And 21 Pilots really, really dives into it in a way that is really authentic to Tyler, and I think it really works. And so, Screen, there's a chorus part. Well, right before that, there's this sort of breakdown, and he says, my flow's not great, okay? I conversate with people who know if I flow in a song, I'll get no radio play. While you're doing fine, there's some people in I who have a really tough time getting through this life, so excuse us while we sing to the sky. Which, singing to the sky is prayer. My prayer is schizophrenic, as he says in Semi-Automatic. And there's this ending chorus of Screen, which is, we're broken people. We're broken. We're broken. We're broken people. We're broken. We're broken. We're broken people. We're broken people.
The music is all very catchy.
Yeah.
I think. And I appreciate that you're kind of helping us see that there's more behind it than just what it feels like. I often find myself in spaces like dancing or moving to music and don't want to pay attention to the words because it will make me less desiring to listen to it or dance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's doesn't seem to be the case with 21 Pilots.
Yeah, it's I don't think I would still be listening without the lyrics. But I will say, like, 21 Pilots is one of the only albums that will like make me spontaneously start dancing.
Wow. Okay.
Which is,
It's saying something.
in spite of my name being Dancin', and in spite of my mom and my sister both being dancers, I really don't like to dance.
Hunter not be dancing.
I'll dance with the right person, but it's sort of dancing that our generation did um, at dances. I did not like, or even just like free form dancing. I'm just not about it. I have too much social anxiety to do it. But 21 Pilots, man, they vibe really hard, especially on the later albums like Trench. The most recent one that came out is just absolute jam. Josh Dunn is really the bomb. But I'll just be like cooking or something, and if 21 Pilots is on, it's like a 95% chance, 95% likelihood that I'll just start dancing to 21 Pilots.
Good to know. In a way that you wouldn't dance to Need to Breathe?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I get into Need to Breathe in the same way that I get into like the Eagles or Styx or a band like that. I get into it in a different way. I don't like dance to it. I like get really into the guitar solos and stuff, and like try to do some air guitar and stuff. But
okay. I learned something new about you tonight.
Yeah, how about that?
Things. How about that? Andre, can we move on to Trench?
Yeah, so I think we should do Stressed Out before we get to Trench.
Okay.
Because there's so many good songs on here. I mean, just please listen to the album. Listen to it all the way through. I don't know. And I feel like me telling you to listen to it will make you not want to listen to it. So I'll just keep going. But Vessel came out in 2013, and they toured it a lot, and they had a couple, I guess they released a couple of them as singles to try and help support the album. But I don't think it was like a huge success. I mean, now it is, but back then it didn't like make them famous. It was their first album with a big record label. And then they released Blurryface in 2015. And I think, I don't know exactly, but I don't know if it was the album got popular or Stressed Out got really popular, and that in turn made the album popular. But it was the first album for every single track to reach at least certified gold, which is like a certain amount of sales and plays. And so like, and like half the album is like certified platinum in terms of sales and stuff. I don't know exactly what that means, but they got really big. I think everyone, a lot of people in our generation heard Stressed Out because it was on the radio. And a lot of the other songs on Blurryface also got that treatment. But I picked Stressed Out because I feel like it's a song for our generation, for millennials. And I don't know. What do you think of Stressed Out? Do you remember the first time you heard it, or?
I do not. I listened to the song about 5 times in a row today, and by no means was that the first time I've listened to it. But I felt like it was probably every time I was listening to it, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm digging a layer deeper. I was in the garden this weekend. I was using a hand trowel and I had gloves on, but I was using it wrong in the sense of it was digging into one part of my hand. And I looked at it, and I had lost 2 to 3 layers of skin deep, which just created this really frustrating thing in the middle of my palm. But I bring that up because I feel like every time I listen to it and going through another layer, probably could have used an onion. It's much more common, but it's less relevant to me at this precise moment. And I enjoy. There's a lot of words in the song. Like there are a lot of words, and part of it's because he's rapping it, and there's a lot of words, which is uncommon for a song that is really makes it big. I feel like a lot of songs that make it big, especially pop songs that land in more of a pop feeling, have really simple words as well as chords. And the thing that stuck out to me the most was the 4th line of the song, because I just found it really enjoyable and really frustrating at the same time. I wish I found some chords in an order that is new. I wish I didn't have to rhyme every time I sang. That's like the only point in this, like purposely makes a decision not to rhyme with that word sang in a stanza that is full of rhyming couplets. And I appreciated that, and it frustrated me at the same time because he made a good point. He made a point with not only with what he was saying, but with how he chose to say it, which sounds like that's just a little microcosm for me of the larger experience that you have when you listen to 21 Pilots, because you've listened to them so much and have given dedicated time when you weren't driving or with your son or other spaces to listen to it.
Yeah. I wrote papers to 21 Pilots. Believe it or not.
Like in college?
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is,
what is it about?
Sorry. Because I was listening to it over and over and over. I was listening to the album. So I got to the point where I could sort of selectively tune it out when I was writing a paper, because I didn't want to stop listening to it.
Not you wrote papers about it.
No, not about it. To it. You could write papers. I wanted to write an essay, but I didn't get around to it because I was covering 2 songs.
Hunter, you are not a mainstream person. In fact, we've discussed on this podcast, and we've discussed in person, there's almost a correlation between how popular something is and how much you dislike it. Maybe that's a little bit aggressive a way of saying it, but they made it big, and you were talking about that like that's a positive thing, and you still enjoy listening to them. Explain. Why would you choose the most popular song from the most popular album as a one-off for us to discuss?
Because some things get popular for a reason. Do I think that Tyler Joseph deserves millions of dollars for everything? No, but it's about the art. I feel like art, the system that we have rewards, just speaking monetarily, totally out of proportion. If you make it to a certain level, once you make a name, it's exponential from there. But people will sometimes say things about Blurryface, oh, it's Blurryface, it's just played out, whatever. It's been played so much, I don't want to hear it anymore. It's just the pop. It's just the album that everybody likes. I mean, I don't know if there's actually people like that, but certainly I think the amount that Stressed Out has been played people kind of tend to view it as that sort of song. And I remember when I think it was the Emmys or something, like they won an award for it, and Tyler and Josh came out on the stage in their boxers. And there are a ton of comments like, I can't believe these kids coming out in their boxers. They're just a bunch of dumb kids, whatever. But like, I might have thought that if I didn't know anything about them, or if I had like already been a fan. And I think also like my friend recommended me these albums and so that he really liked them. And so I had that connection to it to kind of put the commitment in to listen more, and give it an intentional listen. I'm not sure I would have discovered it and kept listening to it as much. And I'm really glad I did. But I feel like the reason Stressed Out is so popular is because like that's our generation. That's what happened to millennials. And like, you know, I was told when I'd get older, all my fears would shrink, but no, I'm insecure and I care what people think. And this is also sort of a concept album. He says, my name's Blurryface and I care what you think. And Blurryface is sort of like a character who's sort of like the anxious one, all of his angst and stuff. And like we are one of the first generations that will probably are more likely to do economically worse than our parents. And there's plenty of us that sort of earned the reputation that millennials have of, mooching and that kind of thing. But most of it is really just a stereotype. And, a lot of people, don't own their own house or anything like that just because it's so hard to do in today's economy. And like, but when we were growing up, like there was this expectation that we would do better because our parents did better than their parents before them. And like, it was like, the 90s and the early 2000s when the internet was exploding and there just seemed sort of this endless potential. And then 9/11 happened. Then 2008 happened. And here we are in 2023 and like we're stressed out. And I just think about out of student loans and treehouse homes, we all would take the latter. And then, of course, the refrain. We used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we'd fly it far away. Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at our face, saying, "Wake up, you need to make money." Money.
Out of student loans and treehouse homes. I couldn't catch that phrase out of the student loans. Sometimes I find it hard to catch, even when I listen to something multiple times, what the word is, which we've already become versus beget.
Yeah, yeah, it happens.
But I like yes.
Oh, I always thought it was treehouse loans, not homes. Out of student loans and treehouse loans, we all would take the latter.
I thought it had to do with how people would get up into their treehouse. Honestly, and we would take the ladder, LADDER, instead of like.
Got you.
I honestly couldn't tell what he was saying, but. And this is why you go to the lyrics, which I so rarely do nowadays, because it's so easy to always listen to something new, always watch something new, always read something new, because there's always new content. But it's so rare, it's so uncommon to connect with something on the first, like to fully, deeply connect with something the first time you experience it.
Yeah.
There's a poem that I read as part of my training that I do for my job. It's a really hard poem to hear. It's a hard poem to read. And I tell people the first time they hear it to not make any notes, to follow along if they want to, but or close their eyes or whatever they need to do. And it's after that I give them time for people to read it individually, and then they can make notes. Then they can, do what they would like. And I actually have a coworker who then at the end reads it through again out loud. That aspect of repetition, giving you the opportunity to connect with something in a deeper way, to get past, like to relish, to celebrate the first initial interaction, but then to move through that, not past it, but through it into the greater depth that it tells.
Mm.
And so it had not hit the point yet where I was like, oh, this is a song of our generation. That's why it's what people like. But I see it when you share it that way.
The music video is just funny. Josh and Tyler are just hysterical. Josh especially, he doesn't say much, but he's very sarcastic. But in the music video, they're just riding like big wheels around Columbus, Ohio, I think, or at least someplace that looks like Columbus, Ohio. The streets they used to roam.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I may or may not be watching it now.
Oh yeah, it's great. Their music videos are really, really great. They're all worth watching. And there's so many good songs on Blurryface. Like, yeah, it's really popular, but it's a really good album. Like, there's not a bad song on it. And
Does he have full
Blurryface
neck
is,
tattoos? Sorry.
yeah. And when I like Blurryface is what I turn to when I am really feeling the fallenness of man in myself. And that kind of darkness in Blurryface is very cathartic. But we're on to Trench.
Wow, that is such an intricate handshake.
Oh yeah, they do that handshake in the Trench video, Trench music video. One of them, I forget which song.
Seeing them in a music video is very interesting because for whatever reason, as I was listening to them, maybe it's because I know you like Need to Breathe so much. So I think I was thinking Need to Breathe as I was listening to them. And now I'm looking and I'm thinking, and I'm seeing more Usher than I am Need to Breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The visual aspect of me.
I have TJ told me a story, and I'm going to ask his permission if I can keep it in. But he told me a story about when his dad went and bought Vessel for him, and his dad gave him the album, and I guess his dad had what he said. I listened to it because I wanted to see what you were into these days, and his dad pointed at the cover and said, "That's not them, is it?" Because the cover of Vessel is actually Tyler and Josh's grandparents. It's their two grandfathers.
That makes sense. Is his hand tattooed? Or is that just in the...
he has a lot of tattoos. And also the band name, 21 Pilots, before we get into Trench. Okay, so it was a play inspired by a play that Tyler Joseph was studying. Someone made a decision where they sent out faulty airplanes during the war, faulty airplane parts, and 21 pilots died because they sent them out. And the main character tried to justify why he sent those parts out, and he ultimately ended up dying by suicide at the end of the play.
Ugh. That's very emotional.
It's Arthur Miller's All My Sons is the play.
Okay, Andrew. We are entering into Trench.
Welcome to Trench.
Can you give us what is the thread that ties this album together? Or the threads?
So Trench came out in 2018. They toured Blurryface for a long time, and it was, incredibly popular, and all that was happening. And then Tyler just didn't really know how to deal with it. And I think they had to be done touring, and he basically just disappeared for a year, and worked on Trench. And Trench grew out of this basically like a fantasy world that Tyler created in his head, where it's based on this city called Dima.
Okay.
And it's set inside of Trench. I guess it draws its name from Zoroastrianism. And in that religion, towers of silence were used to dispose of dead bodies by having vultures eat the corpses. This is from the 21 Pilots fan wiki. I am inclined to trust it because 21 Pilots fans are incredibly thorough. But the city in Trench is controlled by 9 bishops. And they're named after Nicholas Bourbaki, which is the pseudonym of a group of mostly French mathematicians. And I guess Blurryface, the Nicholas Bourbaki is the name of Blurryface's character. And so there's a lot of world building in this album. But really, to me, it's more of a backdrop. You don't really need to understand anything about this. If you want to, you can dive into it, especially if you watch the music videos. There's a lot more of the style and things. But I feel like the whole fantasy world, Dima and Nicholas Bourbaki is kind of a backdrop to the album, kind of like a soundscape. Because the songs are really, I think, very listenable if you know nothing about it, which I hope they were for you.
Mm-hmm. I'm realizing that one of the songs is called Chlorine and not Maureen. Yeah. I thought I was singing about a person whose love is a chemical. I was very confused.
Wow.
The listening comprehension is not a strength of mine. Which one would make it great question as to why would I then be on a podcast where there's a lot of listening and response. Wow, that makes so much more sense. I was started the music video just as you were moving to Trench, and I was like, oh, they're filling up a pool. I wonder if it's called it's chlorine.
I'm sorry. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, in my mind,
Yeah.
it's like, sipping on sweet marine. Her love is a chemical. I was like, ooh, that's interesting. Who is this marine character? I want to know more about her. Like maybe it's a spouse or a girlfriend or a fantasy or something. Nope, it's not.
Sipping on
100%.
straight chlorine. Yeah. So actually, that is kind of connects because Trench, I think, is a great example of an artist processing um, like really incredible success in a way that's not obnoxious, like like that meme of DJ Khaled suffering from success. Um, but like chlorine, uh, sipping on straight chlorine, this beat is a chemical, um, is really, I think, about like Tyler sort of figuring out like what what is this beat? Like, what is this beat that I've created? Because like 21 Pilots fans, they call themselves the Click. I'm not really sure why, but they are really devoted, and because like his music has helped a lot of them stay alive. Has dealt with things that they have really struggled with. Um, and let's see, he says, "Now different lives I lead, my body lives on lead. The last two lines may read incorrect until said. That the lead is terrible in flavor, but now you double as a paper maker. I despise you sometimes. I love to hate the fight, and you in my life is like sipping on straight chlorine. The vibe's not over me," and it's like it's a great vibe uh, in the song. But when he says like you double as a paper maker, I think he's referring to how his music, makes a lot of money now and is really popular. And so it's about how this sort of has sort of it almost took over his life, I guess. He says, "I'm so sorry I forgot you. Let me catch you up to speed. I've been tested like the end of a weathered flag that's by the sea." Is how he's feeling about all this stuff that sprang up around Blurryface. Um,
So, what did this album do for you? What did you hear? What resonated with you? You are a person who does great research and does it because you're interested, and I love hearing this, and it's really helpful. I feel like I'm getting a much better idea of who 21 Pilots is. I want to know more about who Hunter is because of 21 Pilots.
yeah, thanks. I feel like I need to like. Sometimes I get carried away, uh, trying to
That's
be
what
an
happens
apologist.
when you sip on some sweet Maureen.
um, this album came out uh, short either shortly before or shortly after my wife and I moved back to the East Coast. We had lived in Idaho for 2 years. Um, my wife did Teach for America out there, and I did other things, other
Many other
jobs.
things.
Yes, started writing a book out there, but um, it was really kind of a transition time, and also around that time, my grandfather passed, and he'd been suffering from Alzheimer's for a long time.
Mm.
Um, and when I think about Trench, I immediately think of the song "Legend," because because the chorus, I really think the song is dedicated to, Tyler's, one of his grandparents. And, the chorus is, "You were one of those classic ones traveling around the sun. You were one of those classic ones. I wish she knew you. You were one of those classic ones now everybody knows. You were one of those classic ones." And, he says, "You're a legend in my own mind, my middle name, my goodbye." And the thing about losing my grandfather is that because he had Alzheimer's, I never really got to know him.
Mm.
By the time I was old enough, he wasn't really able to talk. He was living in a home, and he, talked kind of like this strange garbled mixture of French and English. He was French Canadian. Um, so he was kind of like a legend to me. I know about him from what my grandmother has said, what my mom has talked about him, and very early childhood memories. Um, and so that was a big part of Trench for me. I listened to this song
Mhm.
quite a lot um, during that time, and the bit that I think really gets me is, "I'm sorry I did not visit, did not know how to take it when your eyes did not know me like I know you." Uh, because we'd visit my grandfather, but he didn't really know us, and it's strange, like trying to figure out a loss that when you don't know exactly what you've lost. Um,
Mhm. Thanks for sharing that, Hunter.
yeah, and I mean, uh, Trench is a wonderful album to get lost in. Uh, there's Legend, which means a lot to me, and it was also a transitional time when I was sort of trying to figure out what this new life on the East Coast was going to be. I mean, of course, we're moving back to be closer to friends and family, but we were living in a new state to both of us, to both of my wife and I, in a new house and starting a different kind of life. And Trench just has so much. There's the whole fantasy world in it that you can get lost in. It has wonderful soundscapes, really unique sounds, and wonderful lyrics. And I really love the song Morph. I feel like that's kind of slept on.
Okay.
As like there's just a really awesome synth piano sound to start it off. I'm not even going to try to do it because I'm not cool enough. But um, really great lyrics. We're surrounded and we're hounded. There is no above or under or around it. For above is blind belief, and under is sword to sleeve, and around is scientific miracle. Let's pick above and see. For if and when we go above, the question still remains: are we still in love, and is it possible we feel the same? And that's when going under starts to take my wonder. But until that time, I'll try to sing this. If I keep moving, they won't know. I'll morph to someone else. What they throw at me's too slow. I'll morph to someone else. I'm just a ghost. I'll morph to someone else. Um, like just so many places you can go. I think about heaven, you know, if let's pick above and see, if we go above, are we still in love? And it's impossible we feel the same. Like, what's it going to be like in heaven? Are we going to be the same as we are now? Or are going to be totally different or a little bit the same or whatever. And this is kind of weird, but whenever I think about this album, I think about a game, sort of a game. It's called Pioneer Space Sim. And I would like put on this album and put on this space sim, and I had a joystick that I would play it with, and I would like try to manually fly a ship from one planet to another. And this game had like, it's still around. It's like an open source sort of thing, but it has like almost to scale. I think it aims for like 1-to-1 scale solar systems, but you can like speed up time so that you're not just flying for literal days, months, and whatever. But I would like try and manually pilot a ship from one planet to another, or like to a certain space station or something. So like part of this album, when I think about this album, I think about that game, which isn't really remarkable, but I mean it is kind of cool. But trying to like figure out when to start, turning on my back thrusters, because if you really, you can't just do it casually, otherwise you'll just fly into a sun or fly into the planet and die instantly, because it's real Newtonian physics. So like an object in motion stays in motion. But I would put on like Morph, the whole album, but Morph and Bandito, like a lot of like this has a really consistent vibe. And
you said the word vibe a few times. It seems to matter a lot to you.
Yeah, I mean 21 Pilots, like Tyler knows how to vibe. Like like as much as his lyrics are so serious and intense, and go to some really dark places, his music is like a jam. Like you dance to it.
Certain aspects of what you're sharing reminds me of my love for Linkin Park.
Yeah. I was really excited for you to listen to 21 Pilots, because I was thinking about like, man, Eric likes Linkin Park. I feel like he would really like 21 Pilots.
I with this conversation, I will spend more time listening. I listened quite a few times, but that doesn't mean I sat down and gave it a full attention piece. It didn't work out this week.
Yeah.
So I tried to make up for maybe the deeper quality with sheer quantity of listens.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I still in my mind, what I remember is very much conflicting with what you're saying and then what I'm seeing, or rehearing, and it's honestly like switching genres in my mind to more accurate to what they are.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting thing for me to try and wrap my head around. Interacting with a fan, with a band as if they're more indie, and then realizing no, they're actually like pop rap.
Yeah, I mean, how can you put a label on a lifestyle? I mean,
okay, but it's clear they're not indie. Is what I'm trying to communicate.
They're not indie.
That's what I'm trying to communicate here.
Okay.
They're very different genre of music, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to agree with you, and make a joke at the same time, but I'm not very good at that.
You are clearer at telling jokes than some of my friends, but that might be a me thing.
I don't know. Just depends on your friends.
We are kind of towards the end, wrapping up here. What else about Trench is just, can you not hold in?
Pet cheetah.
Pet cheetah.
Yeah, pet cheetah. I think the other theme that I think about with Trench is writing. Like because of the way Tyler wrote this album, and also like what he says in songs like Pet Cheetah. When he was teasing this album, I think he released on his Twitter or something just a GIF of a running cheetah. And he did some other like cryptic stuff that the fan base like had a ball with. Um, and it like starts out and it's like, it's like a pretty aggressive beat. I'll take this beat I should delete to exercise. It's kind of like about writer's block. He's trying to figure out how to write, and the chorus and the refrain is, "No, I move slow. I want to stop time. I'll sit here till I find the problem." So it's this tension between like wanting to get something out to show people that he's working on stuff or like producing something, and also wanting to make sure that it's good and that he takes the time to figure out what he wants to write. And then the song just takes a turn where he says, "I've got a pet cheetah down in my basement. I've raised him and bathed him and named him Jason Statham. I've trained him to make me these beats. Now my pet cheetah's quicker in the studio than on his feet." So he's got a pet cheetah named Jason Statham in his basement, which like just made me laugh when I like figured out what he was saying. I was like, and but he says like the pet cheetah is quicker in the studio than on his feet. So like Tyler actually built a studio in his basement in Columbus for this album. And I guess he would spend like all hours of the day down there, just like in the studio. And they really enjoy doing live shows. They've, in Blurryface, there's a line like, he says, "My creativity is only free when I'm playing shows." And they really do amazing shows. They put so much showmanship into it, and really, really make it a great performance. Like sometimes I feel like there's less and less bands that are better live than they are on the album. And 21 Pilots is really like worth seeing live. Need to Breathe is too, but
Taylor Swift is also, from what I've heard, incredible to watch live. The last show my wife went to, she did. Taylor Swift did, or maybe it was one of the other. I can't remember if Melanie was there in person or it was a different one. Taylor Swift redid all of her songs, so like they weren't the album versions. She like purposefully like did different live versions of them and was like putting them together at different points and then playing ones from like deep takes that were only released on one hardcover album in Target, for those whatever we so
yeah.
I don't like going to shows, going to concerts. They stress me out and give me headaches and panic attacks or anxiety attacks, at least. Not all of them, but many. But I do love playing in a show.
Yeah.
It is a different feel altogether. Especially when you're vibing.
Yeah, especially when you're vibing. Gotta vibe.
Do you remember watching Transporter 3? I think it was Transporter 2 together. Transporter 3. Do not recommend. Jason Statham is still driving a car as the transporter. And there's this like an 18-year-old. I don't know. It's a very strange movie with a lot of weird things going on in it. And I remember watching that with you, and both of us were like watching it and staring at each other and like, what is happening in this movie? Like, we like Jason Statham and we like the idea of the transporter, but like this is just not good. Like, and it's not like so bad it's good. It's just like bad.
Mm-hmm.
And side shoot now over. Please come back to the main show.
So, Pet Cheetah is like, he has writer's block, so he gets a pet cheetah named Jason Statham, and the pet cheetah is kind of like a metaphor for like just a random beat that he's been thinking of, and then he takes it out to exercise. And I feel like this is the song where Tyler kind of like breaks through the writer's block, because he says, this click means so much to this dude. It could make him afraid of his music and be scared to death he could lose it. Is what he says about his music. So he's like kind of scared of what he has created. But at the end of the day, he says, no, I move slow. I want to stop time. I'll sit here till I find the problem. I can feel pressure start to possess my mind, so I'll take this beat I should delete to exercise. So it's like Pet Cheetah to me is like a moment when I'm trying to like, I mean, I had one earlier today. Like I had a blessed like couple hours where I didn't have to worry about kids, and I like went for a run and took a shower and came back and like sat on the couch with my notebook, and I was going to try and write draft something. I'm working on, well, it's either the second half of book 2 or it's book 3, but I'm at a pretty tough place that I'm trying to get through, and I fell asleep on the couch staring at my paper. But then I woke up and I just started writing something. And it helped me. I didn't write that much, but it was enough to kind of like get me to the next thing, to help me figure out what the story is going to be, because I've just been stuck on world building. And I know for some people they can build the whole world and then do the story in it, but I feel like for me, the world grows out of the story as much as the story is part of the world. So that was a moment for me that I had that is like a Pet Cheetah moment. Or like I was watching the making of the Dark Crystal series, which I really pouring out because they're not getting to season 2, but they were showing Brian Froud, whose artwork inspired the original Dark Crystal, and he's designed every single character and clothing, like everything on it. And they showed him like sort of part of his process, and he was talking about how like sometimes he would just like make a squiggle on the paper, and just stare at the squiggle and think like, okay, there's a character in here somewhere, and he would draw from that. And that's like a Pet Cheetah moment as well. So yeah, that's a big part of Trench for me too. And of course Neon Gravestones is just it's just go listen to it, because I don't think I could really do it justice. But Tyler felt like he needed to make a statement about the community that kind of sprung up around his music, and his sort of what he actually thinks about like issues like suicide and self-harm and that kind of stuff. And Neon Gravestones was that song, and he pulls it off.
Thank you, Hunter. Thanks for sharing with us not just the surface level of the music, not just the deeper level of how it ties together and how it's impacted the community. but also the way that it's impacted you and shaped you.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that as we fade out at the end of this episode, our listeners will get the chance to hear you playing a song that fittingly is closing our episode, just like it does every live showing of 21 Pilots.
That's right. Yeah. I hope you enjoy the cover. I've done it quite a lot since I worked it out, but I do add a little something, some lyrics in there that not in the original. But that's my interpretation. Thank you for listening. Listeners and Eric, thank you for listening to I Know Vessel and Trench and Stressed Out. When you were stressed out by life and by someone who refused to exchange information. Just make your day longer. I hope it's not the last time you listen to 21 Pilots. It's I know they're not for everyone, but if they are for you, then man, oh man, it's gonna be a lifelong listen. East is up. I know where you stand, silent in the trees, and that's where I am, silent in the trees. Why won't you speak where I happen to be, silent in the trees, standing cowardly? I can feel your breath, I can feel my death. I want to know you, I want to see, I want to say hello. Na 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 na. I know where you stand, silent in the trees, and that's where I am, silent in the trees. Why won't you speak where I happen to be, silent in the trees, standing cowardly? I can feel your breath, I can feel my death. I want to know you, I want to see, I want to say. Why do you feel so far away when I know that you were right here in the trees, standing next to me? But why do you feel so far away when all I want is to hear you say hello, hello,
I know where you stand.